on the NewsChannel 5 network. This is Open Line.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. I'm Carrie Sharp. Glad you're joining us tonight. We are talking about the state of Nashville's budget, and I have the two men here that can tell us all about it, how we got here, and what perhaps needs to happen to get out of the mess that we are in. So I appreciate you joining us. Get ready to pick up those phones if you have questions. We have the experts here to answer your calls tonight. I have Justin Wilson, the Tennessee Comptroller, with us tonight, and also Jason Mumpower, the Deputy Comptroller. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We have talked on the show with a couple of council members about the state of Nashville's budget, and so we've kind of laid it out about we're in a really dire situation. How would you characterize the state that we're in, Justin?
Well, I think first of all you need to realize what a wonderful city Nashville is, how great our economy is, how we're prospering, how we're building. The economy is good. There's low unemployment. The situation really in Nashville is really good. And the purpose of all this is to make sure that continues.
How would you characterize the state that we're in, though, financially?
Well, financially, we have a budgetary issue with the city that they really are, I guess the fairest way of saying it is that they're spending more money than they're taking in. That's basically what's happening.
And as we all know from doing our own personal budgets, something finally has to give when you do that for so long. You all went to the city, addressed the council members. It was also open to the public last week. You talking about the overall budget, and then Jason, you talking about our water rates and our water system and what has to be done. Can you touch on that just a little bit?
Sure. There are two very distinct issues going on in the Nashville financial situation right now. You have the general budget issue that the Comptroller spoke about, and that's an important issue and one that needs to be addressed immediately. Just as importantly, we have an issue with the finances of the Nashville water system. The Comptroller's office has a role in overseeing the financial matters of local governments. Local governments are a creation of the state, and the Comptroller's office was created in the Tennessee Constitution to help oversee all dollars in the state. As far as the Nashville water system goes, the water system is supported by ratepayers. That's different from the taxpayers. Tax dollars don't go to supporting utility systems. All taxpayers are not ratepayers. All ratepayers are not taxpayers. So in the Comptroller's office, we have a utilities division, and for 2 years in a row, the Nashville water system had a negative net position. That means that it was the revenue coming in from the ratepayers was exceeded by the expenses of running the utility. Now, that was also coupled with the fact that in working to balance the budget at a general government level, the mayor and Metro Council were regularly raiding the reserve of the water fund. So for the past few years, there hasn't been enough water rates coming in to support the utility. Their trust fund has been raided, and therefore they have been putting off very important infrastructure upgrades and maintenance. So we're at a critical point with the water system. They're under the purview right now of the Water and Wastewater Financing Board, which is in our office. And water rates haven't been adjusted in 9 years. The cost of running utility has gone up year after year. So it's time to play some catch up before something bad happens with the water system in Nashville. And I think and hope the Metro Council is going to work to do that just in the nick of time.
And basically, you all have told them you have to raise rates by so much over so many years. If you don't do it, we're going to step in and do it come January, right?
Well, the Water and Wastewater Financing Board actually ordered a rate study to be conducted on the Nashville water system. Over about the past year, that rate study has been conducted by a nationally recognized firm specializing in that kind of work. The Water and Wastewater Financing Board has the authority to order a rate increase. And if Nashville Metro Council doesn't enact one, we will order one. But I know that the people of Nashville elected the Metro Council as men and women who they sent down to to do the job representing them, and I trust that they want to control the future of Nashville, and that they will adopt a proper rate increase, and one won't have to be ordered. But if they don't, we're going to be there as a backstop.
And what everybody wants to know listening at home, if they are one of those bill payers, they want to say, well, how much is my bill going up a month? That's what it comes down to for a lot of folks.
Sure, and it's going to vary, and I know that the Nashville water system has set up a special website. I don't know the web address of that, but I'm sure you might put it on your website or something for your viewers. But there has been a special website set up where they can go check out exactly the rate schedule proposed. Again, it's been 9 years since those rates have been adjusted, so they've had a great ride for the last 9 years. But, you know, I think I'll guarantee you one thing. When people are at home, when they walk into the kitchen, they turn on the spigot. Number one, they want water to come out.
Right.
And number two, they want that water to be fresh and clean and drinkable. And that's really what we're talking about here, is the sanctity of the Nashville water and sewer system. I know everybody wants that taken care of.
I know this is going to generate some phone calls, so if you have questions about why this is happening, because basically it's going to happen. Your water rates and your sewer rates are going to go up. You can go ahead and give us a call. Numbers on the screen, 615-737+ is the number to call. Remember, these are the comptrollers. They are not the folks from the water department. This is not anybody sitting in on the council right now. And so let me take about 10 steps back. And can you tell me what a comptroller is?
Well, the comptroller is a constitutional officer that has a variety of duties, and the primary duty is to be sure that the money is spent where the governing body, which is either the legislature or, in the case of Metropolitan Nashville, where they say the money should go, and also to audit the books to be sure that what they said happened.
Now, you always look over the budgets of different municipalities, but you said it was about last January that you really became to focus on Nashville's. What drew your attention?
Well, a variety of issues. We've been concerned about Nashville for some years, but last year in December we noticed that one of the funds actually had a negative balance, and that raised issues. Also, whether or not they were managing their cash properly, and there was some question whether they were or not, and we started asking a bunch of questions about that. Yes.
There have been other issues to pop up since then. The former Mayor Briley proposed basically selling off our parking system, and then also with our energy system downtown. And these raised two red flags, not only for the people living here and our council members who started asking a lot of questions, but for you as well. Why were those red flags?
Well, what we want to be sure is that the amount of money going in and the amount of money going out balances. They have actually a balanced budget. And that means that the numbers that we have are real and realistic. We started hearing that maybe these two things may not happen. If that doesn't happen, then the $40 million hole in the budget, that gives us concern, because you got $40 million worth of bills you won't have money to pay.
And really, they were one-time fixes for an ongoing problem, right?
Well, that is a more serious problem. An ongoing thing is that we believe budgets should be balanced. And balanced means structurally balanced. That means that the recurring revenues, the money you expect every year, will come in every year. An example of recurring revenues are taxes. You know that they're coming in every year. An example of a non-recurring revenue would be a sale of a building, which would happen, may happen one year, may not happen the next year. You can't count on it every year. Recurring revenue should be used for recurring expenses, like debt service. Non-recurring revenue, like the sale of a building, should be used for non-recurring expenses. For example, you could go into the reserves.
Let's get to the phone lines, because this is open line. I want to take as many calls as we can get tonight. Tony, you're on the line. You are first up. Do you have a comment or question?
Yes, ma'am. I have a question. I've always heard over the past decade or so that Nashville has had the highest water rates in the country, and yet they are not showing no profits on the water that they get from us, and it just seems like it seems like there will be a profit there somewhere. If we have the highest,
Well, let's find out if that's true. Right. Because I understand what you're getting at.
Thank you.
Okay, Tony, hang on. Do you know where we stack up nationally?
Well, thank you, Tony, and appreciate the call. I don't know right off. Based on my experience with other utilities, I don't know that they're the highest in the nation. In fact, it seems like they're still a bargain. I will say, Tony mentioned that something about a utility making a profit, and utilities are not in the profit-making business. Now, state law says that utilities shall operate in the black. That is to say that the rates charged should generate enough to pay the expenses, plus perhaps build a debt service fund or some kind of reserve. But they're not in the profit business. They're a public utility meant to serve the ratepayers.
Gotcha.
Now, one thing I think I should mention, going back to what the Comptroller's been talking about and what we've been talking about with the water, and thinking about your viewers who may be sitting at home tonight. The issues that we're talking about, it's not oversimplifying it to say that the issues we're talking about tonight with Nashville's general budget or perhaps Nashville's water system are unlike the issues of the folks at home who are sitting around their dinner table. What we're talking about tonight is a very simple principle. You simply cannot spend more than you're bringing in. It doesn't work at home, and it doesn't work for government. In the case of Nashville, what they've been doing, they have been spending outside of their revenue, and in addition to that, they've been putting a few things on the credit card, most everything on the credit card. So we're at a critical point where they've been spending quite a bit and running up some debt, and the avenues are just running out.
And you said, kind of restructuring debt. That happened back in the Carl Dean administration when we were in the Great Recession, and we restructured debt to the tune of increasing our debt payment by about $47 million down the road. Is that correct?
I don't know the figures. That's what they call scoop and toss, which they did is they took their existing debt and they just threw it back into future years.
Basically paying the minimum, on the credit card.
It's basically taking your credit card and using your credit card to pay off your debt and then putting it right back on the credit card. Just simply using your credit card again, just putting out the maturity. Just decide I'm going to pay it later.
And now is later.
Now is later.
And that's why that's part of the reason we're in this.
That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Over the past few years, Nashville's debt has increased about 138%. That's significant. That's a significant percentage, and so it's time. As the Comptroller said in the beginning, though, this is a very fixable problem, and certainly Nashville has the economic atmosphere that will allow it to be fixed, with a few tough decisions to be made by the Metro Council.
Well, that's a good spot to take a break, and then we're going to talk about how we start fixing this, as you say. So when we come back, we're going to start doing that, and of course, we are taking your phone calls. This is Open Line 615-737+ is the number to call. Stay with us.